Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The latest jobs report signaling a solid labor market. The economy added 164,000 jobs in July, and the unemployment rate remained at 3.7%, marking the 17th straight month that it's been at or below 4%. Despite revisions showing 41,000 fewer jobs in May and June, J.J. Keenahan with TD Ameritrade highlights rising wages as a positive.
Another 8 cents an hour this month after 8 cents an hour last month. Wage growth up 3.2% over the year.
Yeah, so jobs. And why is that important? Because in the end, the economy is going to be a big, big player that's not on stage in these debates, that's not on stage when Trump's on stage. The economy. How it goes will say a lot. It will. And we have a long time in coming. It's not like, okay, well, we're going to all go to we've made up our minds today. A lot could change. We could have a mighty, mighty recession, right? We could see massive slowdown between now and the end of the year, and then we could see a retraction in the market and in the economy in the first 2 quarters next year. And Trump, I don't care. Even if you loved him at that point in time, people are going to be looking for blood. But right now, the economy's good. It is. Numbers weren't great, but they weren't disappointing. 157 million people are currently employed. So it's let's just remember the one thing that we all really participate in, the economy. We participate in it big time, and that is still a driving force in a lot of way that people vote. And people will hammer me all the time on Twitter and Facebook, and they'll text me and say, that's awful that you would vote that way. That's just the reality of how we vote. You get inside that voting booth, you take a lot of things in. Mean tweets are down on the list. Some people, that's all they care about. But the majority of people are like, well, my life's a little better than it was 4 years ago. Or my life's a little worse. Depends. And I don't want to upset the apple cart. So we're just going to go with this. The economy is a very big driver. These numbers, not amazing. A lot of it is consumer. And why that's important is borrowing money means that you're not worried about whether or not you'll have a job next year. Now, what's not built into this is what's going to happen with these tariffs. What's not built into this is how this is not only going to affect the economy from the production side, but also the consumer side, because goods will go up. And with $300 billion in tariffs supposedly starting on September 1st. And Trump's been pretty steady when it comes to these kind of things. So we'll see. We'll see what takes place. Speaking of Trump, last night, doing what Trump does, he can command a crowd. They talked about Elizabeth Warren. She was in Tempe the other day, and she had 3,000 people. I don't know how many people were there to see Trump last night. I mean, you could probably put him in an arena that has, 25, 30,000. He's going to pack it out.
Tonight, we renew our resolve that America will never be a socialist country. Never, ever, ever will it be a socialist country. No matter what label they use, a vote for any Democrat in 2020 is a vote for the rise of radical socialism and the destruction of our great, our beautiful, our wonderful American dream.
How dare he say that's racist? Did you guys hear that? He said our. It's a racist word. Our is a racist word. He was interesting. I mean, he is, he holds court. He has got a cult of personality. And we vote still in not only in our pocketbooks, right? How we look in our bank and how we look in our world and how we can afford our world and the whole 9 yards. We also vote in many ways, too, kind of for the people that we like and for charisma and for charm. And you may hate his tweets, but he gets on stage and he's able to dazzle a crowd. He is. Joe Scarborough thinks a little bit different.
The thing that last night's rally showed, and it was a great comparison with what the Democrats were doing, it showed that here was a guy that strutted across the stage. He was being a demagogue. I would say Mussolini-like, just picking at racial resentments constantly.
Just the hatred of Trump for them is just so he's Mussolini-like, right? He's a fascist. He's all of these things. He's Mussolini-like. Look at the way he holds a crowd. Look at the things that he does. Look how much different it is with the Democrats, right? They wish they had that kind of cult of personality. Obama had that kind of cult of personality. He had that kind of mesmerizing way of holding an audience in a crowd. It does matter. I don't care what people say. It absolutely matters. He's Mussolini. Jeez. The insanity of the comparisons of all. He's Mussolini. Really? He's Mussolini? He is? Is he really? I mean, does he practice like Mussolini used to do in front of a mirror, right? To be a great orator? Does he do those kind of things? Oh, my goodness me. It is amazing. I shouldn't be surprised, but sometimes I am. Just for the insanity of because I can guarantee you there are people out there saying, did you hear what he said, our? Did you hear what he did? Did you hear how he said that? That to me is a whistle for racism because he's saying our country. Why does it have to be our country? Why can't it be other people's country? Why can't we just be a country that isn't really a country? I had a person last night who was texting me. We were talking about immigration. This is a perfect example of just how you hear things differently. So you got Julian Castro is talking about, hey, if anybody comes here, they should be allowed to have a pathway to citizenship as long as they're not criminals. And he's like, that's not open borders. I'm like, well, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And then he goes on to continue to text me and say, I think we should abolish ICE, and we shouldn't have any, minus being a criminal that we can prove, anybody should be allowed to come here, and they should be allowed to be a citizen. And I'm like, then you're for open borders. That's not open borders. That's exactly open borders. But you hear two different things. Somebody hears our, and they're like, oh, my God, he said our. You know what that means. I mean, here's a perfect example of the lunacy. Ellen Pompeo, right? Definitely not a Trump supporter. Okay? She is on Grey's Anatomy. She says she called Kamala Harris overconfident when she was watching the second debate. She tweeted out about it. Right? She says because she's overconfident, believes he is her only competition, talking about Biden. Right? And people have attacked her saying, well, that's really racist. So black women are only allowed to be a certain amount of confidence? To make a leap like that is insane. To jump out there and to just go, oh, God, I heard what you said. You called her overly confident. You might as well call her the N-word. How do you get to that point? And she even said, I have no idea how this became a race thing, because people see race and here's the thing what the left is doing, that many people, Democrats, I'm not talking about Democrats, I'm talking about the left, the progressives, they are weaponizing words like never before, and it is ramping up like you could not believe. So our is going to be a dog whistle. Yeah, our way of life, our country. Black, white, green, brown, orange, purple, tall, small, fat, short, gay, straight, doesn't matter. Our country, our life. Who we are, what we're about. What the idea of being an American is. What is that idea? Individuality, the opportunity to try, but not the legislation of your outcome. Choice in life to pursue things, the freedom to do so, the place where anything can happen for anybody. This is it. Well, not anybody. Everybody has an excuse, right? Everybody has an excuse. But when you listen to people and the way that they're grabbing words and they're weaponizing words, it's nuts. It really is. And I sit here and I shake my head and I say, well, this is what you're going to get. This is it. These are the kind of things you're going to get. He's Mussolini. He's this. He's that. You can't win. So don't try at this point in time. But realize they're coming. They're coming. They want you to watch what you say. They want you to watch who you are. They want you to walk on eggshells, and they want you. And I'm not talking about the average I'm not talking about the middle American Democrat. I'm talking about this lunacy and the way they've weaponized words. And you watch today, that our word last night, how dare he use our? Do you know how violent and racist that is? He's talking only about white people. No, I think he's talking about America, what America is. Why so many people want to come here is because they have an idea of what America is. And we've got so many people in this country who hate how America became America and wants to fundamentally change those ideas. That's the frustration a lot of people have. People don't see it. Enjoy. Get ready for it. Goodness me. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Happy Friday. Hope you're doing well. Oh, my Lord. So we're not in the treaty. We are in the treaty. This is something that's going to be interesting. But we're apparently getting out of the nuclear treaty with Russia.
Notably, the United States provided notice to the Russians that the United States intended to get out of this deal 6 months ago to allow the Russians time and a final opportunity to get back into compliance. The Russians failed to do so. The Obama administration also publicly acknowledged Russia was not adhering to the treaty. Of course, the complicating factor today is that China is not a party to the treaty and has been unimpeded in their development of missiles.
Yeah, so what are we supposed to do? But it's another one of those things where Trump will get blamed for stepping out of this, even though the one thing we always do is we get mad at him for the tariffs and what's going on in China. There's a bigger thing at play here. But nobody ever says, well, China doesn't do any of the things they're supposed to do, right? They do whatever the hell they want to do. But Trump's a bad guy or America's a bad guy, right? It's the same thing here. They're not in compliance with the treaty. They're not doing the things they're supposed to do. And then, Trump's a bad guy. Because you should stay in something that doesn't work. This is the frustration I have with a lot of things that go on. Because we always seem to be the one who has to play by the rules. Nobody else seems to do it. And we're like, so what? Deal with it. You're America. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Zip Recruiter. Speaking of jobs, and one of the things that's very interesting, if you know how hard it is. You're hiring right now. And you want to find the person that has the right skills, all of the things that you're looking for, but you're battling, and you're battling in the wrong places. That's why you need to go to ZipRecruiter.com/Benson. They're going to make it so much easier to find the perfect candidate, right? Because right now you're fishing with crumbs. Now it's time to fish with the big net, and that's ZipRecruiter. First thing you do is once you post your job, it's going to go to 100 of the web's leading job boards, and then that's when they really show you who they are and how they're different. ZipRecruiter has powerful matching technology, all right? So what they're going to do, they're going to scan thousands of resumes. They're going to find the people with the right experience and then invite them to apply to your job. So that right there off the top, game changer. Secondly, once those applications come in, then they're going to highlight the best of the best candidates for you. In fact, ZipRecruiter is so effective, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. Boom! Yep. Now, you, my listener, try ZipRecruiter for free. Exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/Benson, ZipRecruiter.com/BENSON, ZipRecruiter.com/Benson. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Chad Benson Show.
Warning, no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
Will they make the cut for the September debate when the criteria is a lot harder to meet? Big picture, The DNC rules have two very straightforward qualifications. Both must be met. You have to register at least 2% in 4 qualified polls and have at least 130,000 unique donors. Now, right now, only 7 of them are in. Former Vice President Joe Biden, Senators Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, and former Congressman Beto O'Rourke.
Andrew Yang. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? I want my $1,000 a month. Who doesn't want that? You're going to give me $1,000 a month. I'm not going to say no. But just because. Okay. Here's the one thing about him that I like is the fact that the Yang dog, I call him the Yang dog, that's how we are. He is, when he's on stage, quietly unassuming. But he talks about the future in ways that none of the other ones do because they don't get it, because he lives in the world of, I understand where we're going. You guys don't quite get it. But let me tell you. But then he also said that it's too late. We can't save it. Climate change it's over. It's done. It's dusted. Can't stop it, kids. Can't stop it. Too late. Go to space. We've ruined this planet. Let's find another one. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Schools are ready to kick off and get going again. Watch out.
It starts with a legitimate-looking email. It appears to come from someone you might know.
And you open up the attachment, there's nothing there, but your computer and your network has just been completely compromised.
Brandon Shoup is a county commissioner in Dothan, Alabama, where a malware attack on the school district has forced a 2-week delay in the start of class. Meanwhile, Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards has declared a state of emergency after 4 districts in his state were targeted.
While it's school systems today, it could be any public or private entity tomorrow.
He won't say whether the hackers demanded a ransom.
Yeah, of course they did. They probably want it paid in Bitcoin or something like that. This is it. And you know what? You pay it. It sounds horrible. Hospitals, it's happening to them all the time. Municipalities, especially small ones, it's happening all the time. And your choice is give them 50 grand, give them 30 grand, or they're going to make your life a misery. And the cheaper thing to do is give it to them and have them go away. That's the best you can do. Sounds horrible. Well, they'll come back. They usually don't. But you never know. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. What's trending? We'll talk about it. And do you work on vacation, and should you? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It's probably fair to say this was rare. Laughter on both sides of the border. Mexican children on one side, Americans on the other, bobbing up and down on 3 seesaws anchored in the middle by a section of border wall. The kids and the parents in these videos posted on social media can see each other through the slats. One of the seesaw architects said it's an example of how actions on one side of the border have a direct consequence on the other side. The seesaws were in place for just 30 minutes in Sunland Park, New Mexico. It's not clear where or if they'll be back.
Oh, so nice. So nice. We just want to show you what goes on. I get it, right? It sucks. We all know that. We get that. We get that. I just posted something on the old Twitter. I tweeted it, as the kids would say. I did the tweet about, Congress is out on recess. All this craziness about, oh my God, the border and all this stuff. Congress goes out on recess. What is going on? Somebody says, well, the minute we get rid of Trump, this is not Congress's issue. This is all Trump. That we get rid of this, it goes away. What goes away? Tell me today. Trump decides, I don't want to do this anymore. They won't tell me if there's aliens in Area 51. I'm out. You can have it, Mike. What happens now? I'm curious. Does the border magically go back to normal? For the years and years that people came here illegally or civilly breaking the law, whatever anybody wants to call it, does that all change? I'm just curious as to what happens. And by the way, that wall was not a Trump wall. It was probably another guy. What's his name? It escapes me. They used to call him Barry? What was his name, Phil? He was a president that starts with a B.
It's like Obimi or something?
Oh, yeah, Obama.
That's it.
Ah, goodness me. Goodness me. He's built more walls and still deported more people. He's a bad man. By the way, people were asking the questions, like, how does Obama feel about all of this stuff? With the reality is they went after Obama hard. Trump even talked about it. Like, hey, they went harder after, him than me.
Source familiar with Mr. Obama's thinking tells CBS News he's not concerned about his legacy and still has no plans to campaign with any candidate this year.
Now, when push comes to shove, all right, push is going to come to shove sooner than people think. But when push comes to shove, and it's the final two, and it's Biden and Warren, right? Like right now, that's kind of who's in the, right now is we're just starting. We're just out of the gates. But let's just flash forward. We're getting to the point where Bernie's kind of faded. Now he's going to get behind Warren, and it's those two. And Warren is talking about essentially doing away with a good portion of him and his legacy, whether he wants to say, I don't care about my legacy or not, that's a bunch of crap. Human beings, we all do. And unless he's not a human being, I think it's a bunch of baloney. So who do you think he's going to get behind? Who do you think he's going to get behind? Yeah, he's going to get behind Biden. He's got a 96% approval rating and favorable rating with Democrats. 96%. Think about that. You don't think that carries some sway? Oh, yeah, a little swagger. Little swagger right there. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. I love doing this. I love having fun. Let's see what's going on in the world of the internet. What's trending?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old intranet. What's trending? Yesterday, Tulsi Gabbard was the big trend. We'll touch on that a little bit later. I'm telling you guys, if I am the Democrats, a ticket that scares me, if I'm the Republicans, Joe Biden, Tulsi Gabbard. Republicans like Tulsi Gabbard. They do. They like her. So think about that for a second. That was yesterday. Today, numero uno is her name Saracey Kennedy Hill? She's the big search. She is the granddaughter of Robert Kennedy, who died. They found her in her Cape Cod compound. 22. They don't expect foul play. So NFL preseason, Adidas Yeezys, Drake, and Ninja Mixer. Elijah Cummings is also trending, partly because of Trump once again tweeted something about Elijah Cummings and his house being broken into, and apparently Elijah's saying he scared away the person. I don't know if that's true or not, but and who knows? It could be a crazy supporter of Trump that says, ha-ha, I'll show you, but it probably wasn't. Nobody probably even knew who the hell that house belonged to. But, that's the battle we'll have. But those are the things that are trending right now globally. I mean, in the United States. And globally, it's, people say, well, what's trending globally? Well, that's mostly soccer, right? It's mostly football that's trending globally. And I like football. I do. It's like football. I just want to tell you guys that I like football. Speaking of football, Jermaine Jones is his name. So, a month ago, U.S. women's national team wins. Everybody's excited. They're great. We're going to get behind them, and they deserve to be treated so much better, and blah, 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 blah. And then it became us versus them. The U.S. men's national team sucks, and they're awful, and they're horrible, and they're the worst, and, they can't even make the World Cup, and it's, like it should be so much easier, right? And the men's team kind of stayed quiet, and some of them were like, yeah, we're behind you. Jermaine Jones played for the U.S. men's national team from 2010, 2017, went to the World Cup, scored in the World Cup. Pretty damn good player. He was born in Germany, but had an American father, decided to play for the United States, and they asked him about this whole thing, and he went very NPC.
We as men have to, of course, respect what the girls doing, and they're doing a lot for this country.
First of all, he said girls, so that automatically means you're not woke.
And they're doing a lot for this country, but I think I think the old president, he said it once, and he said, if we will shut down the men's team, there will be no U.S. soccer. That's how it is. We just have a bigger platform in general. So if you look at the numbers, the girls team have more like consistent fans for the fan base, but if you look at the numbers in general, the men's team is way back bigger.
Yeah, and he didn't say anything that wasn't true. All right? But it doesn't matter because, as we know in this day and age, you cannot say something like that. We don't want to hear the truth. We don't. We do not want to hear the truth. And the fact that he was as honest about this, and now we'll see if there's going to be some sort of apology, but he didn't back down, and he wasn't mean or disrespectful. He said girls, whatever. I mean, get over it, nondescript, cisgendered, sometimes LGBT, females, maybe not female. I mean, it's just, come on, get over it.
But then if you go away from that and you just see what they're bringing to the country, I think you have to appreciate it. You have to say, I think I did a post after they won the World Cup, and I said, we man, or in general, everybody, we have to stick together because it's not looking good. It's not a good look if we fight each other and then we're trying to support the sport here in this country, right? And so that's for me, like the girls, I appreciate everything they're doing. I think they're doing an amazing job, and of course, we as men, we know it's tougher to win a World Cup than the girls stuff. But
yeah, absolutely, it's tougher. It is. But it really became, and I think from some of the people I have talked to in the U.S. Soccer Federation, it became a us versus them thing, and they demonized the men as if they were bad and evil. We've got the men's side of soccer has the much tougher road. We should qualify for every World Cup, but the reality is they got a much tougher road. They do. That's just it. And even when they qualify for the World Cup, the truth is we're still years behind the rest of the globe when it comes to this because they grew up playing it. Coaching is now getting closer and closer to being on par with our young kids. And there's a ton of young Americans that are going to be stars in the coming years. But, for us, for years we promoted women's sports, and that has been a huge help. That has been a massive help. And a lot of these stars for other countries all came here to play college soccer. And it's getting bigger on the women's side, which will be great. But he was very honest about everything. And you can't, in this day and age, you can't. He also went on to say, look, this could backfire on. This could. And, when they talk about all these things, we have to put it in perspective. When I was playing for the Galaxy, he said that, they wanted to play us in preseason, and we just started, and they were getting ready, and we said we couldn't, and they played our youth team, and our youth team beat them 6-1. So he goes, and their pro league is essentially like a youth league. Oh, he's a jerk. Feels a little jerky for saying something like that. But do you not want to hear the truth? I mean, if you're on, no matter, I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on, right? Do you want to hear, like, the truth? Or do you not want to hear? And I mean the whole thing. Like, not a portion of it. Because we can all do that, right? We can all go find something that supports our arguments. But are you open to listening to the other side? And I think too often than not, and this goes for both sides anymore, we're just not. We don't want to hear it. We're going to find the thing that backs the beliefs that we have and that reinforces those beliefs, and we're going to ignore any other evidence, and we're going to be skeptical of any other evidence. And I don't think that's good. I know. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. How much will Katy Perry have to pony up? It's going to be the big movie this weekend, and he's finally finally on his way home. Our long, long nightmare is over. Chad Benson Show.
Plea deal this.
Mueller, arrest me.
Chad will trade you 2 perjury charges for 1 collusion and throw in a reduced charge of obstruction for free.
Yeah, I'd do that.
For just listening to The Chad Benson Show.
The Lion King is going down this weekend.
You want to tell me just what we're dealing with here?
The Fast and Furious spin-off Hobbs & Shaw is set to open in first place, looking at a maybe $60 million debut, possibly more. That would be a solid start for the film, which features Dwayne Johnson, Jason Statham, Idris Elba, Helen Mirren, and more. For comparison, 2017's The Fate of the Furious opened in $98 million. The Lion King should drop to second place for the first time. No other movies open wide this weekend.
Yeah, I will go see that. Not this weekend, but I will go see that. It looks kind of fun. I'm a fun movie kind of guy. It's been a really quiet year at the box office. Nothing's just amazing. Nothing's standing out. Not a lot going on. It feels kind of bleh, right? There was a couple movies, and especially the summer, there's just been nothing that has been like, whoa. And this will do okay, but how great will it do? And this, I think, we'll find out what kind of power The Rock has and what kind of pull he has. Speaking of pull, I wonder if the president had anything to do with it. But our long national nightmare has finally come to an end.
A court in Stockholm has ruled that American rapper A$AP Rocky and 2 other U.S. suspects can be released from detention until August 14th, when the verdict in their June 30th assault case will be announced. It's not immediately clear whether the suspects could leave the country. In his closing statement, the chief prosecutor said he was seeking a 6-month sentence for the rapper, who himself had earlier said that community service would be a proper punishment.
But it looks like he's going to be able to come home, potentially, and then go back. I'm not quite sure. It's just a weird thing. So that you've got people following you on video, and they're messed up. They attack you, try to get to you through their bodyguard. Then they do something to your bodyguard. You fight back. They don't get arrested. You go to jail? A little suspicious about this. Thank God Trump's on it. Trump is tweeting about it today. In between tweeting about Baltimore and tweeting about Elijah Cummings' house being broken into, he breaks out A$AP Rocky's coming home.
The jury in federal court in Los Angeles Thursday said 22.5% of the net profits of Dark Horse should go to Marcus Gray, whose song Joyful Noise was the one Dark Horse copied. That's $2.8 million, with Perry on the hook for $550,000.
Yeah, that's good. Why she's not paying more? Because in her contract with, I think, Dr. Luke and the other people, is they're in charge of the putting together the computer noises, if you will, and sound, and she's in charge of the lyrics, so she's going to pay some. How much they actually get, I don't know, and what's it look like in the future? It's just, everybody's like, that's a pretty good thing, though. And I'm like, is it, though? I mean, yeah, you got your justice, and they talked about that.
They felt that they had been wronged, that something of value had been taken without their permission, and they wanted justice, and they feel that they've received justice. But,
33%? Will go to the attorney. Then you've got taxes. By the time everything's said and done, you walk with $1 million over a 5-year period to get it. That's $200,000 a year. Nothing to sneeze at, but you had to go a long way to fight this. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds great today, but when you look at everything, it breaks down to like, well, that wasn't as, it wasn't like he got $6 million after everything was said and done. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Hope you are doing well on this Friday. So that kid won $3 million, but not so fast, Mr. Fortnite kid.
Teenager who won this year's Fortnite World Cup is now finding out there are some strings attached to his winnings. 16-year-old Kyle Giersdorf from Pottsgrove won $3 million at last weekend's video game tournament. But about $600,000 of his winnings will go to the esports team that he signed a contract with back in March. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. It reports such contracts are common in esports when gamers are scouted from the internet and signed on to the deal.
Yeah, because they throw some money at you along the way, right? So they're giving you some cashola to be on their team, and it's just like if, you sponsor somebody going to the World Series of Poker or one of those things, you're going to pony up. So, and it's another one of those interesting things where here's a young kid, he's playing for a team, and even though he won in an individual thing, he's got to pony up some of that money. But this gives you the opportunity. So what? You're 16 and you still won $2.4 million. That's a good thing, right? That is not a bad situation. That makes you smile. It's good to see things like that. This is why the rest of the world hates us. We're giving teenagers, some as young as 14, opportunities to win millions of dollars playing a video game. Booyah! 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. I tried to play PUBG, which is kind of like Fortnite before Fortnite, and because Jack has it on my tablet, I am awful. I'm horrible. I'm just the worst. I suck at all games. I try hard though, but I don't know what I'm doing. I'm watching some of it, I have no idea what's going on. I feel like I'm gonna have a seizure. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
That's us, kids. Have a Friday. So the Dems are out doing what the Dems do. They're all trying to qualify, right? Because this is what the Republicans and Dems had to do in the last one when there was an outgoing president, not an incumbent. And so everybody was trying to qualify. And they're trying to do all that. Looks like Tulsi's qualified. So now we have 8 for the next one, right? But we finally got some feedback when it comes to the last debate and who is standing there at the top of it. Bernie? No. Oh, it's got to be Warren, right? Because that's what everybody's clamoring for. Nope. Buttigieg? No. Booker. Yeah, no. According to the latest polls, the Harvard-Harris poll, Biden has a 2-1 lead nationally among Democrats over Bernie Sanders. 34% support compared to 17%. Kamala Harris has 9. Warren has 8. Buttigieg 4. Beto 3. And Booker has fallen to 2. Ooh. Oh. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? That's a curious thing right there, kids. What will they do? I don't know. But I sit there and I look at this and I say, well, what did you expect? What did you expect? If I am the Democrats, I'm looking around going, why isn't our message getting out there? And I would say it is getting out there. Are you guys not listening? They don't want this. They don't want free everything. My God, there's an op-ed in the Washington Post today saying, you guys are scaring away your base, right? You're scaring away your base. If Trump wasn't so Trumpian in some ways, he'd be running away with this. He's the one who pulls himself back to the pack, and then he meanders forward again, and he pulls himself back. But my goodness me, if I'm the Democrats, I'm looking and going, all right, look, maybe Biden is it. Maybe not. But here's something. What if everybody's like, well, Biden-Harris ticket would be, let me tell you the ticket that if I'm Trump, I'm worried about, a ticket that intrigues me. Joe Biden and Tulsi Gabbard. Republicans love Tulsi Gabbard. They do. They love Tulsi Gabbard. She goes on Fox. She's not afraid to go places. She served in the military. She leans to the left, but she's not out there. Oh, they like Tulsi. She looks good. Let's not pretend that doesn't matter, because it does. It's very interesting. That, to me, if I'm Trump, that makes me worry a little bit. That makes me look over and go, sorry, Mike, I got to fire you. Get Nikki Haley in here. Call Nikki! 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. So this is something I found to be very interesting. In the world of wokeness, right? Because we live in the world of wokeness, don't we? Is everybody woke? You guys all woken? We're woke? We're woke? Okay. You had the whole thing that took place the other day with Mario Lopez, right? Coming out and just being honest, and don't do that. That's stupid. And then you get told that you're going to get fired and all these things. And then on the other side, you have somebody like Miss Pompeo from the Grey's Anatomy fame, right? So Pompeo comes out and she said something about the overconfidence of Kamala Harris. And in saying that, people are like, well, that's racist. How dare you say it's overconfident? She's only allowed to be certain confident? Well, first of all, black and white, green or orange, whatever it is, you shouldn't be overconfident, right? You shouldn't be. And so now they're like, they've made it a race thing. And I was like, wow, that's insane. So they've made it a race thing. A person who's on the left. I mean, what was it? Bette Midler, who I don't care much for her, and has nothing to do with her politics. Just not my thing. She said, she posted a tweet about, a couple black people in the audience of the Trump thing. And it was hilarious the way that people attacked her and started calling her a racist. Like, they eat their own. I mean, Trump is right. They eat their own. But this is the problem when you live in a world of super uber political correctness. These are the things that end up happening. Right? It's nuts. And then you go from there to the insanity of, so you're fine with letting a 3-year-old decide their sexuality and their gender. And if you dare say that at 3, that's a little young to make life decisions, and everybody says how transphobic you are and how awful you are, but then those same people attack the likes of Jessica Simpson for letting her child dye her hair. Wait, what? That's a life decision? That somebody has temporary hair dye? This is why Trump. When people always say, how did we get to Trump? I said, these are the things that brought us to Trump. These are the things that land us in a situation. Because people are over being told and how wrong they are about everything. You had a woman, right? A lady, if you will. A nondescript, non-identified individual, but she calls herself a woman, Kirsten Gillibrand, go on the debate stage the other night and essentially tell the world, hey, vote for me so I can tell other white women how privileged they are for being white. And I'm like, God, talk about hubris, just insanity. That's what you get. That's the insanity. And people's and what is that? To me, that's a huge turnoff. Sorry, I want no part of this, right? Yeah, I'm sick of being demonized. I'm sick of being I just don't want any part. Whatever it is that you're selling, you've lost me. Because you are just in a world of fantasy. This is why Trump. This is why Trump. And I often wonder, I talked to a pollster today. I said, do other candidates not pay attention to polls? Even when Joe screws up, people still support the hell out of him. Because, yes, the center-left Democrats that are out there are looking around and saying, this is all a little bit uncomfortable for me. These things, these free stuff, this, it feels like you're just handing stuff away. You're talking about jobs, for guaranteed jobs for people and doing all this stuff. It feels just uncomfortable. You're talking about you want women to have choice, but you want to take away my choice in health care. That feels uncomfortable. I mean, these are things that turn people off. And then you also don't want to tell me how it's going to be paid for, really, what the real cost is going to be to me. No, I don't think I want to be a part of that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. I do love hearing from every single one of you. I try to get back to every single one of you. I don't always do it, but I do try to get back to every single one of you as best that I possibly can. By the way, good news today, at least on the job front, somewhat. It's not an amazing thing, but it wasn't an awful jobs report.
The latest jobs report signaling a solid labor market. The economy added 164,000 jobs in July, and the unemployment rate remained at 3.7%, marking the 17th straight month that it's been at or below 4%. Despite revisions showing 41,000 fewer jobs in May and June, J.J. Keenahan with TD Ameritrade highlights rising wages as a positive.
Another 8 cents an hour this month after 8 cents an hour last month. Wage growth up 3.2% over the year.
Yeah, so it's good, not great. And where we go from here will decide a lot. And no matter how many times I tell people that the economy, and I will say this, as the economy goes, in many ways, is how we vote. Long gone are the days in the way that we vote in a much, we're voting with our morals and this, that, and the other. No, we're selfish voters. You get in that box, you're selfish, and I got zero problems with that. Your world revolves around you. You should take advantage of those things. And you look out there and you ask yourself, when you hear people talk about all of the stuff that they want to do, free, and knowing that it's going to cost and the potential that it could do, the reality is you step back and you say, you know what, I'm going to stick with what I know. And this is the devil I do. And at this point in time, if the economy stays strong, Trump's got a great chance of winning. He does. I'm not saying there's not somebody out there that can't unseat him with real ideas that don't seem like they're going to bankrupt us. But when you go so far, you lose it. And if the numbers stay strong and the economy stays strong, tough to beat. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. California's doing something different when it comes to tackle football. We'll touch on that straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
Because of playing football, well, parents, pediatricians, school administrators, all expressing concerns, and now California is limiting full contact practices for youth football teams to try and reduce brain injuries.
Governor Gavin Newsom signed the measure yesterday. The law limits full contact practices to 30 minutes a day, twice a week.
You know, in preseason, I have no problem with that. I think when season gets closer and closer, in preseason, I have a problem with that. I think you should let them play a little bit more, right? Especially, and it's weird because you got to learn how to tackle. You got to learn how to do it right. And they interview this kid who, quite frankly, they probably was the worst of the interviews. Like, who could we find that makes us think that maybe football should be stopped? Hey, let's do this.
19-year-old Mike Radke tells us his favorite part of football.
I just love playing the game pretty much, just running on the field. It's like a brotherhood pretty much.
Governor Gavin Newsom signed a law Wednesday limiting full contact practices to 30 minutes per day, twice a week.
Kids need contact, in my opinion. We spend like thousands of dollars on helmets. Like there's a helmet for like over $1,000, but it's pretty much on how the contact happens.
Yeah, that's true. That's how it happens. And it's football, it's a weird thing, right? Like, because we don't want it to go away, but at the same time, we we don't want our kids to play it. Like, oh, yeah, no, I don't want that to go away, but, it's like, my kid isn't going to play it. Oh. And I'm lucky. I'm in a station where there's football players here usually on a daily basis, right? So Cardinals here, former players are here. And, off to the side, I've chatted to more than a few of them, and they said, yeah, there is that worry because we didn't know what the potential was that something may happen. And I understand why you do this, but there also has to be a situation where you're learning how to do it. My little brother, when he started playing hockey, the first few years, because he was so young, there was no hitting. In fact, they had a stop sign on all the players' back just above their numbers in case the kid was against the wall that you're not supposed to hit him. But then it got to the point where it's like they have practices and special classes as you grow inside the clubs to learn how to hit.
Radke says it's the way to tackle and hit, and that should be fixed.
It's not really football if you can't hit, but if you can hit the right way, it makes it more fun and less people get hurt.
At the end of the day, it's about the safety of the kids.
Yeah, which is true. And the fact that they're still allowing kids to play football, tackle, is a big thing. I mean, soccer's already done this. United States Soccer Federation has already said that I think if you're under 14, there's no practicing heading or heading in practice is what the rule's supposed to be. I mean, it's going to happen, right? I mean, even in flag football, I'll go watch Jack play flag football and, they're both looking at the ball and they smash into each other. It's going to happen, but they're trying to limit the blows to the head repeatedly, and I get that. I do. I absolutely do. But I also think you've got to be able to hit and kind of get that feel of it. So like the beginning of the year, like when they're at this time of the year, when they're out there and they're doing 2-a-days, you've got to allow some of that to happen because you just don't want to throw them into a cold game and nobody's really done anything. You've got to allow that to happen to get used to it. But you could totally reduce it. And during the season, yeah, I mean, even the NFL, maybe they may pad up once a week, if that.
Bobby Boyd is the head freshman football coach at Alhambra High School in Martinez. While Boyd says the new law for youth football is a good idea, he thinks it does hinder staff in preparing kids for games.
It's a contact sport, so at the end of the day, they're going to be out there banging with other kids or with a lot of contact with other kids. And to prepare them for that, they might even want to see it in advance, a little bit more than 30 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there could be some serious issues if you've not done it. Right? You want to have that feel. So I see it. But look, I understand it. And the fact that it's still going and I'm waiting for a state to finally come through and just completely ban it. I think it will happen. Eventually it is going to happen. And you're going to see more and more teams across the country as the data comes out that their high school has gone from, we used to have, a JV team and a frosh-off team and a varsity team to now we can't even cobble together, 30 players. So because people are like, we're just not going to do it. And no matter how hard they try with the safety, as far as helmets and the new technology, it's still not going to fix the fact that your brain is essentially floating in your head. So how do you fix that? Unless you drill into the brain and put some sort of foam. Who knows? Maybe they're looking at that. 323-538-2423. A bunch of kids stormed, no, not Area 51, but Lollapalooza today. And then producer Anthony goes, who's at Lollapalooza? And I'm like, The Strokes, the Chainsmokers, and then a bunch of people you've never heard of. Childish Gambino, right? That's Donald Glover. Tame Impala. All right. I'm a Death Cab for Cutie, I like. 21 Pilots, they're okay. Lil Wayne. How about Lil Wayne? Tenacious D. Ariana Grande is going to close it out. Talk about an eclectic lineup, right? Meek Mills, Casey Musgraves. Very interesting. Lil Wayne, Tenacious D, back-to-back. What? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Well, let's see how that plays out, because on a lot of these production supply chains and so forth, there are going to be changes. And a lot of these companies have already said they're fixing to leave China and either come back to the United States or go someplace else.
That's Larry Kudlow right there. Jobs, 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 jobs. We've got more tariffs going on in China. Joining us now from Bankrate.com, the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Hammrick. And Mark, you know, before we get to the jobs report, the tariff thing is still very interesting. Once again, more tariffs are coming. And, you know, people are starting to wonder, like, you know, what's the long-term strategy here with this president and China?
Well, it's very challenging, I think, for the U.S. economy, and I think if these tariffs do hit in September, as the president has threatened, and he does seem to, in these cases, definitely to be a man of his word, you know, this is going to hit the consumer, it's going to hit retailing, it's going to hit the manufacturers of these goods, and it happens, by the way, in advance of the holiday shopping season. So, you know, this is one of the primary reasons why the Federal Reserve cut interest rates. Obviously, the president has been pressing mightily for more, and I think we can now see a method to this, and I think from an economic standpoint, it's troubling.
Yeah, it is. It's very troubling. But I understand. And once again, you know, while everybody gets on the president, let's look at China. They promised to buy some stuff. They promised to do some stuff. Well, they negotiated all these things. And once again, China, which we always ignore, doesn't matter if it's climate change or any of these other things, don't do it. And everybody turns and yells at the president. But, you know, China's also has to be feeling this as well. I mean, they could paint a rosy picture, but the reality is she's got some issues over there.
Well, for sure. Obviously, Hong Kong being among those issues here. But first of all, you know, it is not a free society, and their leadership is able to, let's say, exact some pain from their populace that doesn't work so well in the United States. And so I think that to the degree that China has literally played the long game for, you know, 1,000 years, it is also playing the long game right now and probably is trying to look beyond the next presidential election and wondering whether this current stance on the part of the U.S. government is sustainable.
Absolutely. Talking to Mark Hammrick here as we talk about the economy. Let's talk about jobs. Maybe not as good as we thought, but there is a record number of people that are employed right now.
Oh, I think this is a respectable jobs report coming, obviously, 11 years into the economic expansion, having essentially hit the consensus estimate, which, you know, was looking for solid jobs creation. That's welcome news. Having the unemployment rate stuck at 3.7%, obviously just a tick above the recent lowest levels in 50 years. Welcome news there as well. I think this is in the context of a slowing U.S. and global economy. Obviously, last year, we had 2.5% year-over-year growth. Now we're sort of in the 1.5% range in the current quarter, and we'll see where that goes from here. And so, you know, you don't expect to be able to run a marathon either forever or at perhaps the strongest pace that you had early in the race, and I think that's where we are right now. Really, the key questions going forward are, will we have a downturn? What are the depths and duration of those things or of that, and then how does that affect individual Americans?
Yeah, and you know, you said it right there, and we've talked about this before. It's at some point in time, you know, it's an ebb and flow, and your whole goal is to run it for as long as you possibly can. But you do realize that there is going to be a downturn, and you know, you look out there, you look at the amount of debt that the average American is carrying, and the middle class, man, they're paying to stay middle class. I read a great article today in the Wall Street Journal about the fact that they are paying to stay middle class in so many ways. The debt's up. You've got just $1.5 trillion in student loan debt. There's some issues there. And what would it look like today if we went into a situation like 2008? Are we going to have a softer landing?
Oh, my. Well, I mean, that is a good question. And what I would say is the economic downturn that you suffer next time around is very seldom like the one that you experienced most recently. And thank God for that, because obviously the significance of that downturn in 2008 was something that was unprecedented in that part of, or I should say, in the last 100 years, really going back to the Great Depression. And so, it is hard to come up with a scenario where we experience something like that. I would tend to think that the next downturn, whenever it occurs, is shorter and not as severe. And I think that's a pretty safe bet. But, here's the other part of that, Chad, is that, and, while we obviously need to discuss the broad brush headlines because this is the news cycle and these are the headlines that were given, as you know, the reality is for individual Americans all across the country, their experience may or may not align well with these headlines. And so I think that's one of the reasons why the president came to office, is he was sort of trying to attach himself to the people who can't identify with the headlines, and those people are real, right? And so I like to think about the fact of my hometown in Kansas, the highest unemployment rate in the state, really never took part in the economic expansion. My wife's hometown in Niagara Falls, New York, same thing. It really never has seen growth of any substantial magnitude. And so, I've had the luxury, so to speak, of living and working in the nation's capital, one of the thriving local economies across the country for really a third of a century now, having moved away from those areas of the country. And I feel for the people that are in those areas because they look to Washington and they say, what have you all done for us lately? And the answer is, over the long term, they haven't felt the love. And so I understand the disconnect and the disenfranchisement that people feel.
Talking to Mark Hammrick from Bankrate.com. You can go to Bankrate.com, check out a very good article that was put together talking about the big issues in 2020. And the survey, the economy still, like everything else, is number one. And I tell everybody, no matter what anybody says, the economy is the driving force that we all participate in. All right, we can debate climate change and immigration and these kind of things, but that economy, everybody has skin in the game, and it is always number one when everything is said and done. And yes, on you guys go out there and you look, and what's number one on your site? The economy.
Well, of course, that's our bread and butter at Bankrate, and so we're constantly, trying to urge people to save for retirement, save for a rainy day. Even if you're, let's say, put off by the fact that we never got out of this historically low interest rate environment, it still pays to shop around. So if you're looking for a certificate of deposit, some returns are better than others, and so to automate one's own savings to make sure that, let's say, you are using direct deposit to save for that rainy day, you're looking out for your own well-being in a way that no one else is going to do. But I appreciate the mention of the survey, because what it really found was that there's a razor-thin margin in Americans' perceptions of either President Trump or presumably Joe Biden, a would-be nominee for the Democratic Party. A razor-thin perception in terms of which one would be better on managing the economy and one's own personal finances. Biden comes out on top, but by a slim margin, but also in terms of a poll of everyday Americans, they also gave Biden the upper hand on issues like immigration and health care. And so I do think that, different polls will come out with different results with respect to what people prize most in terms of what they're looking for. But clearly, over time, even when the economy is perceived to be doing well and the broad brush economic statistics point in that direction, for those of us that have been alive for more than just a few years, we know that can turn on a dime, and that there are long-term issues. There are the cyclical issues as well as the structural issues, meaning, what's happened lately and what's happened over the long term. And Americans have a very realistic and I think to some degree sobering sense that the structural changes that have occurred have given rise to the concern that the life of the next generation of Americans may not be as magnificent as what has been seen in recent generations.
Yeah, we hear it all the time, from the candidates that, the next generation's life is going to suck compared to our generation. It's the first generation ever. And I just sit there and I shake my head. I said, there's a lot that goes into that. You know that, and I know that, but it's you've got to create a monster, and that's what you have to do to fight. This person over here is bad, and this is how I'm going to win, and it drives me crazy. But welcome to the world of politics. Talking to Mark Hammrick. Mark, we look, and as I've been doing a lot of research research and studying, we're still in a situation, well, wages have risen, right? They haven't exploded. We're looking at like 1999 levels. I mean, they've gone up a little bit, but they're nothing huge. But this is the time, if you are a person who's looking for a gig, to have the opportunity to, in many ways, raise your own wages if the company that you're working for isn't going to give you the opportunity to raise your wages there.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, this is sort of trying to own one's own personal finances and career, right? And so the best time to look for work is typically when the job market is doing well, and we know that, at least statistically speaking, the number of job openings roughly matches the number of unemployed out there. There's some sort of problems with that sort of direct analysis because we know that there are people that aren't participating in the workforce who might otherwise do that or are underemployed, but you get the point. So the same thing holds true for our personal finances. Now is the time to own that personal commitment to saving for emergencies, saving for a rainy day, and saving for retirement. And the other part of that is that I really do think that one of the reasons why there is this political divide in the country that you sort of alluded to there in this question is that even if one is gainfully employed, it does not take much to knock one's train off the track, so to speak, whether it's a catastrophic health event, even temporary unemployment. When people are living all too often paycheck to paycheck, that can be enough to put one in such peril that they are at risk of either losing their house or being thrown out of the place that they're renting. And so this speaks even more to the urgency to try to save for emergencies.
Absolutely. It's crazy. Fun, though. But the jobs numbers, not too bad going forward here. How are we looking from here till the end of the year? Because I don't foresee us really sliding anywhere into a position, Mark, where we're going to be in any kind of recession, at least over the next, 4 to 6 months, and then we'll obviously reevaluate from there?
Well, probably not, but, we also know, Chad, that, we're within a major event of, changing the economic outlook. I mean, whether you go back to something that, was as, let's say, more of a structural issue like, let's say, the Asian debt crisis or, some of the many events that occurred in the 2007, 2008, and 2009 time frame. Those are the black swans that none of us can predict, and so, we don't try to predict those things. But what I would say is that right now, an argument can be made that the U.S. economy is performing well. This speaks to the divide on the Federal Open Market Committee, which voted in favor of a rate cut, but also you had two pretty distinct dissents there for people who said, why are we doing this? And Chairman Powell basically said we need an insurance rate cut right now because of the clouds over the horizon. If indeed the tariffs are imposed on China, if we have a greater trade divide involving not only the U.S. and the EU, but also a hard Brexit, those storm clouds continue to gather. And so, if indeed right now one of the estimates for growth in the third quarter is correct at 1.6%, that means that, we have less margin of error to work with right now. And so, fingers crossed that this boat will continue to sail right along and we'll have the economic expansion enter a 12th year.
Yeah, well, hopefully we do, because you know what? I don't care who's running this country, i.e. Democrat or Republican. I think we all want a good economy, man. I love having you on. As always, go enjoy the rest of your Friday. Mark Hammrick, bankrate.com. Thanks so much.
Great to be with you, Chad. Thank you.
Thanks. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. I think at least through the end of this year, I think we're going to be okay. And then again, we'll reevaluate. And I don't know. I do question some stuff that Trump's doing. I don't question the way that he's going about taking on China in the sense that I think a lot of people are very short-sighted on what China is looking to do. This isn't just singularly about financials and tariffs and all that. There's a bigger picture here. It was very interesting. The only person the other night on the stage that got any of that was Biden, talking about the fact that, look, we need to rewrite some of these things. We need to look at stuff because China continues to not do the things they say they're going to do, and nobody holds them accountable. And I believe that to be very true. They're looking at something bigger, very bigger. And who's it going to be? Is it going to be China or is it going to be us? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say
Last month, he was just a fan at a Colorado Rockies game, and 23-year-old Nate Patterson decided to play the Speed Pitch Challenge behind the bullpens. A radar gun clocked his throws.
Come on, 96, Nathan!
His relatives then posted this video of him topping out at 96 miles an hour twice. And now, Patterson's been signed by the Oakland A's to a real minor league contract. To the chagrin, we should note, of fellow Rockies fans who watched their pitchers give up 19 runs that day Patterson was in the cage.
Oh, man, what a dream. Could you imagine that, going to a game? He said he started training a year earlier. He played baseball as a kid. He started training a year earlier. Just getting in shape and doing some fun stuff, I guess. And he actually hurt his shoulder. And he had to have surgery. Not his pitching shoulder, his other shoulder, doing something else. Nothing big. So he went, and this was not like, hey, let's go do this. They were just going to the game, and they went down there and did it. And, God, how amazing is that? Like, that's the coolest thing. And you never know, because, like, what I see going on here, and this is just me, is a Disney movie, right? Right? It's like one of those things, 23-year-old kid gets the opportunity. He may only get, who knows? Who knows what'll happen? Right? You never know. He could go, he's throwing the ball 96 mile an hour. That is major league speed. Who knows if he has another pitch? But the chance, that's an awesome story. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson shows your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Hope you're doing well on this absolutely gorgeous Friday. Look over there. There's sand thieves.
Authorities on the Italian island of Sardinia have returned to its shrinking beaches some 10 tons of sand confiscated at the airport from departing tourists. The Sardinian sand is renowned for its golden pink hues and silky texture. Airport workers took it from tourists as they left the island and stored it in dozens of small containers, awaiting transport back to the popular beaches. And tourists beware. Sardinia now imposes fines of up to $3,300 for tourists caught stealing the sand.
What do you think of that? Those are apples you don't want. Don't be stealing sand. Do you have anything to declare, sir? Well, I stole some sand from Sardinia. What do you think of those apples? You could be bringing over foreign sand that has foreign disease, that if you mix it with your garden and or our sand, it could cause chaos. Oh. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, kids. I do love hearing from every single one of you. A lot of you guys are tweeting in and texting in about the jobs, about Trump, all kinds of chaos. Look, people say, and this is something I want everybody, when I was earlier talking about Obama, and they're like, is there anything you like about Obama? I thought Obama was a good man. I didn't think he was the worst president. I'm not one of these kooks that, he's the worst president we ever had. He did some stuff that I thought was okay, right? He did some other stuff that I thought, you know what? I scratched my head. But that's every single president. But in this day and age, you apparently have to either think that the other team is either evil, right? If you're on the right, that left is evil. And if you're on the left, the right is evil. That's a bunch of crap. Get over yourselves, you lunatics. Check out the Instagram as well, at Chad Benson Show. Happy Friday! It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The departmental judge found Daniel Pantaleo guilty of using a chokehold during the arrest of Eric Garner, a violation of NYPD policy. She found Pantaleo not guilty of aggravated assault, but nonetheless recommended the officer be fired. Garner's daughter, Emerald, called on Police Commissioner James O'Neill to follow it.
Commissioner O'Neill, fire Pantaleo.
O'Neill is not expected to make his decision for another 2 weeks, in keeping with the policy guiding civil service discipline. He could uphold, modify, or reverse the judge's findings.
Yeah, and look, this was a big thing. This is one of those things where, if you guys remember Eric Garner and what took place, he was selling loosies. The police and him got into it. Pantaleo put a chokehold on him, and, eventually he ended up dying. I believe he had a heart attack, and there was a bunch of other things, but they're pointing out, look, what he did was wrong. They're not holding him guilty of his death. They're holding him guilty of doing something wrong. So now the question is what? And this is where race comes in. And remember, we live in a world now where everything can be construed as racist, right? Trump last night on stage, he said our. Ellen Pompeo from Grey's Anatomy tweeted out the other night, a diehard liberal, by the way, that she thought Kamala Harris was overconfident, and that is now a race issue. So it can be perceived as anything you want it to be. But he broke the rules. There's no doubting that. There is no doubting that. And now what is what's going to happen? And what's the pressure on? That's all. My thing is, I always ask, well, like, what's the social pressure? Because no matter what anybody says, there is social pressure. There is. It doesn't matter where you are, right? If you're a professor, if you are, case in point, go look at what Mario Lopez said the other day. His belief that 3-year-olds shouldn't be able to pick their gender. And the pressure was massive. You didn't change his mind. You scared him. Right? That's it. You basically threatened to take away his livelihood and wanted his head on a chopping block for having a different opinion than you. So don't tell me social pressure is not there. And I do wonder what is going to happen. Like, is there social pressure as a judge? When they're looking at this, saying, okay, what he did. And think about this. If you're a police officer, right? We touched yesterday on that lady who was 64 years old, 65 years old, who ran from the cops in Oklahoma. She kicked him in the grundle. She didn't go down easy. She had to be tasered twice. Eric was a big dude. It's a tough situation. He had all kinds of issues on top of that. Got to be honest with it. Wasn't the healthiest. But, look, he said 11 times, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. So now what happens to this officer? It was a 15-second chokehold. 15 seconds. He had asthma, heart disease, and obesity, they said, were contributing factors in his death. So, well, Chad, it's a race thing. Well, no, if you're fighting with somebody, my God, we have a sport that is booming. Mixed martial arts, where chokehold is the thing you try to aspire to, right? The rear naked chokehold, they call it. It's a tough thing. Also out there today talking about it was Bill de Blasio. He's just can we all agree he's a dumbass? Can we just all agree with that? Can we just agree, right? And we can say that because he's a tall white person, so we can say he's a dumbass because he is. But he was out. It's funny too because he was he was talking about the family and this, that, and the other. The family came out today and said he didn't even know who we were. It's all political BS, but that's the world that we live in today. But he was out there doing his thing.
I hope that this will now bring the Garner family a sense of closure and the beginning of some peace.
I don't know about that. I think the $5.9 million didn't hurt, right? This was it was a bad situation. And I still think, I doubt that guy woke up, Pantaleo, and said, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to go choke somebody out till they die. I doubt that. But he did break a federal law, right? You can't do that anymore. You can't. My question is, you can't do that anymore. I get that. What happens when you're in a situation where you feel you're fighting for something? Potentially your life. and this is all you have. Do you say, screw it, I'll let this person flee? I think that's a fair question to ask. Now, he had several officers with him, but you saw how hard it was the other day to take down Granny Gums out there in Oklahoma. You know, she's a country girl. She's 65 years old. She wasn't going down easy. So, you know, somebody 6+, well over 250, 300 pounds, who doesn't want to get taken down? But he definitely broke the law, and for that, he's going to have to pay.
If, in fact, the commissioner does take the recommendation to terminate, we intend to continue toward congressional hearings toward having a law federal against chokehold by police of civilians.
And state thing right now, but still, I mean, it's you know, it's a touchy situation, and because it's, you know, there's a person of color, and then there's a white person, so that automatically makes the thing so much bigger. And even if you show people data, right, the data that came out last week, that new study that looked at every police shooting for several years and found, there's no real racial disparity, everything that everybody's looking at, and it becomes a big story. But the reality is that's just not there. It still doesn't matter. Right? Because if we can make something out of it, we will. Doesn't matter. Whether you use a word, whether it's an old tweet, doesn't matter. If you can make something out of it, then do it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter, jobs. Is the job market good? Is it bad? Is it indifferent? How do we look? Job report out today.
The latest jobs report signaling a solid labor market. The economy added 164,000 jobs in July, and the unemployment rate remained at 3.7%, marking the 17th straight month that it's been at or below 4%. Despite revisions showing 41,000 fewer jobs in May and June, J.J. Keenahan with TD Ameritrade highlights rising wages as a positive.
Another 8 cents an hour this month after 8 cents an hour last month. Wage growth up 3.2% over the year.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. And a lot of that wage growth is people that are going elsewhere because they know they can get a bump in their wage. You know, you're making $15, $20 an hour here across the street. They're going to pay you $22. You ask your employer, hey, I'm going to go across the street. They said they'll pay me $22. He says no, or she says no. And you're like, fine. When it averages out. And the big question is how important is the tariffs going to be heading forward? Because jobs are mightily important. The economy is mightily important. When you look around, just about every single poll that's out there on things that people are worried about or things that are important for them, the economy is either number one or number two. Healthcare, the cost of healthcare, up there as well. But the economy is the one thing we all are a part of. We all are participating in it. And because of that, we look at this and say, well, you know, if this time next year it's going gangbusters still and we're seeing growth and you're getting closer to November and things are going good, it's tougher for that Democrat to come out. Because no matter how many times you say, oh, yeah, well, only the rich got a tax break. Then you go and you point out that that's a bunch of crap. And it works only for the rich. You know, it's the same talking point over and over again. And then you go and you point out some other things and like, well, this is Obama's economy. You're like, okay, so when it dumps, it's then Trump's? Exactly. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. How about this? It's our economy. They just happen to be the stewards of it. And as long as they don't drive it into the ground or into the ditch or sink it or crash it, we'll keep you as the captain of the ship or the car or the bus or the plane. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show. That there, kids, is your Twitter. I do love hearing from every single one of you. One of the other things that I think that needs to be talked about is what's going on still in our country with opioids, with addiction, and with overdoses.
For more than a decade, rural areas have taken the brunt of drug overdose deaths across the country. But now they once again become a big problem in big cities. According to the CDC, the overdose death rate in urban areas surpassed that of rural areas in both 2016 and 2017, the most recent statistics available. Last year, more than 68,000 Americans died of drug overdoses, making this the deadliest overdose epidemic in U.S. history.
God, that's insane. It is so insane. Absolutely insane. The amount of people that are dying on a daily basis because of this is lunacy. And why it's getting even more play is because it's moved to the urban areas, right? Soccer moms, things like that. Yeah. So you're starting to see what's happening with this. And going forward, I want to see how these candidates are going to address this, because it definitely needs to be addressed for sure. We got a problem. And we talk about we need gun control. We need pill control. We need a lot of pill control. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, Twitter and Instagram. Check out the Chad Benson Show on the old Facebook. We're over there. My Pillow slept great last night. Let me tell you, I've had it's tough for me to get a good night's sleep at this moment, because if you guys didn't know, on Monday I busted a couple ribs, and getting comfortable, I stacked a couple of my premium My Pillows up in such a way, man, I was out and it was awesome. It was incredible. Now's your chance to try My Pillow risk-free. 60-day money-back guarantee. You got nothing to lose. You get a 2-pack of premium My Pillows for $69.98. That's less than $70 with free shipping. 60-day money-back guarantee. Try it. Put it to the test. They're putting their money where their mouth is. You're going to love it. It is incredible. 10-year warranty, made in the USA. Machine washable and dryable. Now's your chance. Go to MyPillow.com. Use the promo code Benson. That's MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. You can call them on the phone, right? Just pick up the phone. 800-983-4975. Use that promo code Benson. 60-day money-back guarantee. Free shipping. Less than $70 for 2 premium pillows. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Boys, give me a bowl of chili with plenty of peppers. One Mexican heartburn. Why don't you mugs grow up?
The Chad Benson Show, where independent, a la carte thinkers have a seat at the table and a voice in the dialogue.
I'll have what she's having.
This is Chad Benson.
Saudi Arabia publishing a new law that allows women for the first time to apply for a passport and travel freely without the consent of a male relative.
About time.
If implemented, it is a historic move that abolishes one of the kingdom's long criticized guardianship laws that treat women as minors and allow men to control their lives. On Twitter, Saudi women and others praising the change. Some posting memes of women packing and heading to the airport.
And then like that, it'll disappear. Just think about that for a second, all right? Think about the people that our leaders have to deal with. Think about all of that craziness. This is a country that is uber modern and yet archaic at the same time. And they've got people running around in this country as if Donald Trump and, Judge Kavanaugh are all that is evil. And this is an uber modern country, right, that we have an uneasy relationship with, see 9/11, and many other things. And yet at the same time, people take money from them. I mean, my God, they finally, Nicki Minaj isn't going to go play there. She was going to go play a concert there. Like, their people can't go freely anywhere. It's crazy. In this modern day and age, they treat them like minors. Like pickaxe? No, like minors, like children. Oh. Yeah. God, that's nuts. It is. It is super crazy. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Kids, there's your Twitter. Many of you guys tweeting in. Talking earlier, I said I didn't like car chases, and people are like, how do you not like car chases? If a car chase is 3 minutes long in a movie, I'm okay with that. When it gets to the point where it's like we're 10, 15 minutes in, I'm like, I'm bored. I'm kind of over it, right? It's like, if I go see a movie where I know there's a car chase, I am like, boom, I'm on my way to get some snacks or go to the bathroom. I'm on my way. I'm like, see you guys, I got to go. Trump last night was talking about the fact that he was in Cincinnati, and of course, being evil as Trump is, was actually talking about the fact that they attacked Obama.
The Democrats spent more time attacking Barack Obama than they did attacking me, practically.
And yesterday, several of them came out and said, no, we didn't do that, and we really love him. And people are like, oh, Trump is bringing up something that didn't really happen. No, it did happen. It did happen. And Obama, they asked, people are trying to figure out, okay, what do you think about all this?
Source familiar with Mr. Obama's thinking tells CBS News he's not concerned about his legacy and still has no plans to campaign with any candidate this year.
I will tell you this, maybe not this year, but when it gets to that final two and that person on the other side, if Joe Biden's on one side and that person on the other side wants to dismantle a lot of what Obama did, I have a feeling he will campaign with Joe. And let's not forget, he is very, very popular still. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. We got What's Trending. Talk a little things that are trending in the world right now. Plus, Jermaine Jones, soccer player, played for the U.S. national team, came out, was very open about how he feels about the gender inequities when it comes to pay. And I'm sure people are pissed about that. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Only a revolution at this point is going to defeat Donald J. Trump. Only people rising up is going to remove him from office. Our side needs to treat Trump seriously. He's not a joke anymore. He's the real deal. And he humiliated all of us by losing the election and then being given the keys to the Oval Office.
He didn't lose the election. He won the election. That's Michael Moore. You guys understand how it works, right? But he lost the election. But he didn't. He didn't lose the election. He won the election. It's the way it works. I know people want to change it. People are upset. But he didn't lose the election. He won the election. That's just it. I love the call for a revolution. Feels uncomfortable to me.
In my humble opinion, 4 of these candidates running could beat Trump. Bernie, Biden, Kamala Harris, and Elizabeth Warren. They could beat him. But Hillary beat him. It's not enough just to beat Trump. The only way to remove Trump is to crush Trump.
Then do it. Biden's the only one of those that I think has a real chance to reach out. I think he's the only one that has a real chance, unless somebody, because the fact is the media is going to focus on a very few amount of people, right? Warren, Bernie, Beto's fallen by the wayside, Buttigieg, maybe. So very small. And then you've got Biden, who's the front runner. Polls show it again. So we'll see. We'll see. I think, Kamala could be interesting. Just don't criticize her, because if you do, you're racist.
Who can crush Trump? Who's the street fighter? We saw it in Bernie last night. Who's the street fighter that can crush Trump? I think if the election were held today, there is one person that would crush Trump, and she hasn't announced yet. Michelle Obama. Everybody watching this right now knows she is a beloved American, and she would go in there and she would beat him. She would beat him in the debates. He wouldn't be able to bully her. He wouldn't be able to nickname her. And she is beloved.
Oh, Michael Moore. She's not running. Just to let you guys know. Not saying it can't happen. I just don't think it's going to happen. I just don't. Don't think it's going to happen. Living in their head rent-free, right? People say, you love Trump. I don't love Trump. I don't love any politician. Don't fall in love with a politician. Don't do it. You fall in like, but hold their feet to the fire. And remember, actions matter more than tweets and words. Remember that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. I love doing this. Makes me smile. I like to be on the inside. I like to understand what's happening. I like to be hip here and now. I like to know what's trending.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? What's trending? It's very interesting. Today, the NFL is trending big time. Last night we had our first game since the Super Bowl. So it wasn't a great game, but people are excited about that. Next Thursday, in earnest, preseason really kicks off. Number 2 is Ninja and Mixer. If you don't know who Ninja is the biggest streamer on Twitch. He left, signed an exclusive deal with Mixer, which is Microsoft's newest, latest way that they're trying to dominate in the world of gaming. Jerry Garcia, number 3. Tommy Lauren, number 4. And Yeezys are trending as well. Yesterday, the biggest thing trending with over 1 million searches throughout the day here in the United States of America was Tulsi Gabbard and what happened with her and Kamala Harris. And it's funny because Ellen Pompeo, who's on Grey's Anatomy, came out and said something about Kamala Harris and Biden, saying she looks overly confident after Tulsi did what she did on stage the other night and the way that she went after her and her record on crime and marijuana and things of that nature. And she just gave her a smug look and ignored her. And, kind of it came out later on and said, I'm one of the people are chasing. So I expect those kind of things. And, she got it was a big hit. It was just as big as she got Biden. Tulsi got her. And Ellen Pompeo said, well, she looks overconfident. And then she became a racist. Like, here's a diehard liberal who says, I think she's overconfident, thinking that Joe Biden is the only one that she's really running against. And people were like, well, that's a racist thing to say because she said overconfident. Yeah. She said overconfident. How dare her use the word overconfident? But this is what's happening. Words are being used against people. So you have a person who is a liberal, says overconfident, and that's perceived to be racist. Trump says our time, our country, that's racist. They're debating in college campuses if they should use the word America or Americans anymore, other than citizens of the United States. This is the insanity of which we live. And my problem is we've gotten to the point where we can't have an honest conversation. I don't care what it is. Climate change. Can't have an honest conversation. Right? Because you're going to be labeled something. So you're a climate denier. Right? All right. Whatever. You're an idiot. Blah, 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 blah. Right? Can't have an honest conversation. Vaccinations, right? Like, I'm for vaccinations, but I understand why people aren't. But anti-vaxxers, you got to be anti-something. Like the trans. You've got Mario Lopez, right? Like AC Slater comes out and has a different opinion. The 3-year-olds, maybe, little young to be making life decisions. It's a smidge young to be making life decisions when it comes to that. And he's got to do this mea culpa because people don't even want him to apologize. He's got to just do this sad-ass apology because he may lose his job. What? Because he has a differing opinion? Yeah. You can't be honest now with people. You can't be. Like, I could say, you know what? I find Elizabeth Warren to be obnoxious. And she is, I can't stand, you're a sexist. Really? So the only person I'm allowed to say is awful on in the debates is somebody like Bill de Blasio, who's, quite frankly, he's a douche. He's a blowhard. Well, yeah, you can, because he's okay to attack. Because this person is a person of color or is a woman. So because of that, and because of intersectionality and the hierarchy of victimhood, they are above reproach. You cannot say anything without being misconstrued. No, here's the equality in things. Just because you're black doesn't mean you can't be a jerk. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean you can't be a jerk. Gay, straight, trans, you can still be an awful person. That's equality right there. And you should be able to be called on it. But it's in this politically correct world, in this wackiness, it is tough. People don't even want to hear the truth about things. If you come at them with things that make them uncomfortable data, all they have to do is label you something, right? Mario Lopez still feels that 3 years old is a little young when it comes to being able to, make life choices. And I agree. Well, you're trans. No. That's what you're saying. My 7-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, you're not making life choices yet, right? When you get older and you feel that way, we discuss. We have an open topic. That's fine. You don't get to make life choices at 3. Sorry. Or 4. It's crazy. And then to want somebody fired, not just to have a debate with them, but to want them have them fired shows you the insanity of which we live in. Calling for their jobs, their careers, their heads shows you the insanity. Why? Because they don't believe what you believe, or because that's a person of some sort of specially protected class that you cannot criticize. It's ridiculous. But this is where we live. This is how we live nowadays. Is a fear factor of people being honest. I have several friends who are professors, and one of them is a person who is in the science world. And we've had talks on numerous occasions, and we played ball together growing up, and he tells me all the time, science is now politics. You've got to follow and toe a certain line, even if you can point to different things, even if you could show that, I don't really buy into, in particular, global warming. He goes, the effect we have is minute. You can't have 7 billion people here and not have some effect, and all these billion. But I couldn't say that. Not because, and that's the reality of it is, yeah, that's the way I feel. But you can't say that. So fear alone is stopping people at times from being honest. That is not a good thing. That is not. It's absolutely not. But this is what we've gotten ourselves into. And by the way, a majority of Democrats, this isn't a right-left thing, a majority of Democrats find that walking around on eggshells and political correctness has run amok. So when I hear all these things and I see all these things, I just sit there and laugh and say, you want to know why Trump? This is why Trump in a lot of ways. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. ASAP Rocky gets to come home until apparently they're going to render a verdict, but he gets to cruise home. I wonder if he's going to be wearing Ray-Cons, baby. What? See the way I did that right there? Ray-Cons are amazing. My earbuds. I'm going to put them on a little bit, go play some soccer, go run around. I don't have to worry about them falling out my ears. They look amazing. There's no dangling wires, no stems. Charge lasts forever. And get ready for this. The best wireless earbuds around. Ray J put them together. Snoop Dogg, Cardi B, all had a hand in this. Half the price. Just so much better than everything else out there. So if you're looking around going, you know what, I would love to have, but I don't want to spend X amount of dollars. You don't have to. That's where Raycon comes in. Right? Stylish and discreet. No dangling wires or stems. They not only sound great, they look great. So what are you waiting for? Get yours now. Not only are they half the price with better sound, you're also going to save 15%. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. That's buyraycon.com/Chad. You're going to save yourself 15%. buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where the sensible center hangs out. Hey, you! That doesn't mean you can put your feet up on the table.
You're despicable.
This is Chad Benson.
The women's sports, or in general, the soccer women's team they have more support or loyal support than the men's team. So they have, like, if you see the girls in general, they have, if you go on social media, all of them have like around 200 or more, 1.5 million followers. That means all the young generation, young girls and kids, they follow more the girls than the men. So they're this is why the federation can pay them salaries. There's no man who gets salary cap paid money from the national team. There's no player. But I think they have to be careful too, because you have players, what I said with Alex Morgan, people, they're making more than some of the guys, but then you scream out and say, we need more money. So
this could end up, you think this could end up backfiring?
It can backfire real quick.
That right there is Jermaine Jones. Used to play for the United States men's national team, and talking pretty open about stuff, saying, look, if it wasn't for the men, there wouldn't be a women's national team. That's just it. But also points out a lot of different things that people don't want to talk about, right? It goes back to what we were just talking about before the break, which is there's a lot of things that there's truth out there, and people don't want to hear the data. They don't want to look at it. Because we've now made this world, because of weaponizing words, a world where I will take feelings over facts. And if you bring me facts that disagree with me, I can label you something. So what do you think about that? So what happens then? Conversation ends. Conversation ends. And that shouldn't be. It absolutely shouldn't be. But this is the kind of thing that, that happens. And I said, and part of that too also happens to be the fact that, during this entire run, and great that the women won the World Cup and the whole 9 yards, during the entire run, they made it out as how horrible the men were, how bad they were, and all of this stuff. Also in the interview, he goes, when I was playing with the Galaxy, the women wanted to scrimmage us, but we had just started preseason and we were doing all of these other things. And we said no. But we let our youth team play him, and the youth team beat him 6-1. I mean, it's, and he says, look, it's the reality is it's at best the women's professional league is like a youth league. He said it. You can call him a jerk and call him all those things. Doesn't mean he's not true, right? Like, doesn't mean, that's the reality of it. Can't say things like that. Remember Martina Navratilova came out and said that I don't think that trans men, women who were men at one time should be able to compete against other women. It's not fair. And then everybody came out and went after her. And then she says, well, maybe I'm wrong. Let me go research it. She comes back later on and says, no, you know what? It's 10 times worse than I thought it was. People want data. They don't want facts. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson shows your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Oh, my Lord. Wounded Paw. What an amazing organization. They really, really are. They go in and rescue animals that are ready to be put to sleep. They take shelter dogs and turn them into service dogs. They recognize the need out there. 20 veterans a day on average are committing suicide. And Wounded Paw comes in, and they're saving a paw to save a life. It is incredible what they do. They make sure that these animals not only get trained, but then get to the people who need them to help transform their lives. Veterans, first responders, and a family. It's not cheap, and it's not easy. They need your help. I want you to go to woundedpawproject.org and check it out. See the things that they're doing. They do need your help. Doesn't matter what you have. If they take cash donations, which is amazing, but a truck, RV, a vehicle donation, you get an amazing tax-deductible gift. But what you're going to do and how you're going to transform lives is amazing. You can call them at 844-678-4PAW. That's 844-678-4729 or woundedpawproject.org. That's woundedpawproject.org. Speaking of animals, this is hilarious. A couple quick stories. A guy dipped into his savings to save his dog, and his fiancée now is pissed at him. She won't talk at him. How dare. He said, I'm doing it. His future wife will have nothing to do with him. And he went online to find out why. And everybody's like, well, you shouldn't have done that. And other people are like, it's your money. Shows you the insanity, people. Here's my advice to you. Run, sir. Run. Run, sirs. Here's your useless fact of the day. Settled science. Hibernation for years. Bears hibernated. No, they didn't. And they did. And then they went and took all of their scientific stuff, and they went and they said, now bears don't really hibernate. Then they found a lemur that actually hibernated, and now they say, yeah, bears do hibernate. Settled science, kids. Have a great weekend. We'll do it again on Monday, as always. Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.